That's my transition. Bucks Magic. Even though the Magic lost that game, so maybe not that great of a transition. But look, we'll start with the Bucks part of
No,
this.
still a great transition. We could, and I'll tell you why, and I'll just do it quickly. He almost won that game without Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero.
He did, and so did Jalen Suggs. All right, let's talk Orlando Magic then. Let's just do it. This is a weirdly fun team, despite the fact that they have a really hard time scoring the basketball. But defensively, they're a ton of fun to watch. They put so much size. They have that 2 center lineup out there right now, and Jalen Suggs, like I said, he's the reigning Emmy winner for defensive player for me, just most entertaining defensive player. Dyson Daniels coming for it. It's going to be really interesting at the end of the year at award season, but he's also kind of thrust into this new position, and that's again why Orlando's kind of fun. It's like the storylines are really interesting. Like Paolo Banchero comes out guns blazing, looks like a superstar, not an all-star, like a superstar in that first week, and then goes down with the oblique. Franz Wagner steps in. Hey man, it's going to be on you. Here's the torch, and he's like, cool, bet I'm going to be front runner for most improved and a kind of an all-star candidate here. And then he goes down also with a right oblique injury. Weird. And now it's up to Jalen Suggs, and then he comes out and scores like 30-plus points in that Bucks game. He looks the part of like a guy that not necessarily is going to carry your offense. We can get into some of the nitpicking there, but like just a guy who's now gotten the chance to kind of explore the outer edges of his game, and I think it's going to be kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those things. They're going to need him to explore those outer edges of his game, and try to figure out how is this stuff going to work for them, and how do they kind of find the flow with both those guys out. I know Paolo's probably nearing a return, but not imminent. And I think that's until then, they need to kind of stay afloat. This has been one of the fun teams of the season, and they were fun last year as well. I think we're just kind of beginning to get we haven't set expectations on them yet. So it's not to the point where we're going to kind of start to crush them. But I think we're at the point where it's like everybody's paying attention to them and seeing what they do and how they play. It's again, another young team with solid defense that I love watching just in that sense, but they have a great next man up mentality, right? Paolo goes down, Franz steps up. You've highlighted that. Suggs, Franz goes down, Suggs steps up. They get a big win against Phoenix without Franz and Paolo, and then they go into Milwaukee and they really almost pulled this game out.
Yeah.
It was pretty impressive. A couple of mistakes, I think, defensively, a couple of bad breaks, and then boom, it's the Bucks get the W. But like you got to talk about Jamal Mosley as your segue into him was as a possible coach of the year. He's got to be in the conversation. He's got to be in the top 3 just with the job he's done in terms of keeping everybody together and everybody ready to roll. I mean, look at what Goga Batadze, I know I butchered the last name.
Can we get a pronunciation on him? Like, it's actually Batadze.
Batadze.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm kidding. I have no idea.
You could have totally had me, and I'd be walking around going Batadze. But you have Goga going nuts, and playing a role in terms of when guys go out and things like that. Like, this is actually a pretty deep team. And I think the thing too is they're also pretty injured. Like, we forget those 2 guys. Gary Harris is out.
Yeah. No Jonathan Isaac in that game.
Jonathan Isaacs is out. Like, you was a late scratch for that Milwaukee game. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's interesting. They just continue to plug away and keep going. Pretty impressive. When you see this team at full health, it might be a very interesting story towards the end of the season.
And Jamal Mosley you're right, the next man up mentality, like the culture that he's set there of like, that wasn't the Orlando Magic were like losers basically since Dwight Howard left.
Mediocre. Once they had, when they had the Vooch and the Fournier and the,
I'll say it always felt like a team that could never get over the hump. Like they kind of had like this baby brother loser mentality, and Mosley came in. He was like, enough with that. No, we're winners. We're going to be tough. We're going to do all these things. And we're going to outperform our expectations, not just sort of meet these mediocre expectations. And that's what they've done these last couple of years. I thought it was really interesting, too. Like, so when we talk about what Jalen Suggs, what his opportunity is right now, as a scorer, I think he's been a lot better than people who watched him in his rookie year would have him, you would believe. And Gonzaga, who's actually pretty good. So it was like, I thought his rookie year was more of the outlier than what he's mostly been throughout his basketball playing career. But he's been much better than he even was at Gonzaga. The 3-point shot is coming along. All these things. He has to develop as a playmaker, right? He actually, Goga Batadze had more assists to Jalen Suggs than Suggs had to Goga in that Bucks game.
Right.
And I think that's a cool thing that Mosley did. He's like, all right, we're going to pull our centers out. We're going to have them sort of facilitate up high, whether it's Wendell Carter or Goga, who both had more assists than Jalen Suggs in that game. And that's fine for the offense. And it obviously, works okay, especially if they don't think that Jalen Suggs is that guy as a playmaker. But my point, I guess, is that Jalen Suggs eventually has to be that kind of guy as a playmaker.
Well, it doesn't necessarily he has to be that kind of guy for them, but they have to go find that guy. That's going to be a key piece for them going forward. They were one of the teams I was hoping would get Chris Paul, over the offseason, because I thought that had been a fun place for them, for him to kind of dime up guys and give guys more opportunities and take some of that playmaking off of Paolo, because he's their main playmaker, and I think that's the thing there that they're missing. So I don't know if Suggs has to be that guy. It'd be nice to have, but I don't know if he's going to be that guy or develop into that guy. Listen, I'd rather he be a guy right now in this role where he locks down defensively and then can get us buckets on the other end. And, we'll just have to look elsewhere for the playmaker. You can't get it all, Wes. You can't ask a guy to be everything.
Right. I mean, and I think the idea, too, is that Paolo and Franz will ultimately be the lead playmakers of that team, and Jalen Suggs doesn't have to be that either.